forward to the most, with this being the first time Joel is taking on Victor?
We're going to hammer his ass. I told Wemby to stick him, put your butt right in his stomach, back him down over the rim, and just throw him through the rim. That's what you can look forward to tonight.
Well, that's certainly what I was looking forward to. Unfortunately, things didn't quite go that way. All season long, it's been fascinating to see Wembanyama's first duel with all of these different superstars. He held his own against the likes of Anthony Davis and Giannis, both games coming down to the final seconds. Made things interesting against Jokic, where he recorded 6 steals and 4 blocks. But with the way Joel's been playing, we're talking about an entirely different beast. Early on, this looked like a pretty typical matchup between two high-level bigs. On one hand, you have Wemby. The Sixers went with the strategy of putting one of their forwards on him, with Joel aggressively roaming the floor as a rim protector, basically telling the Spurs that they'll let Jeremy Sohan have the 3 whenever he wants it. This really clogged things up for Victor. As soon as he touches the ball in the post, here comes Embiid from the right, meaning that he's forced into a tougher look over his left. San Antonio also struggled getting the ball to him in general, with a much smaller forward playing the lane, fighting to get in front, and a not-so-great entry passer. You kind of have a recipe for disaster. One way Wemby was able to make himself available was with some sharp movement. Here he starts to run up as if setting up a 2-man game, only to dart backdoor and lose Batum entirely, which leads to an easy lob. The primary way he countered Philly's defense, though, was by playing out in space. With a forward on him, it's easy for him to see right over the top, so when Oubre steps out to him off a screen, it's like he's not there at all. And on the very next play, he's pushing the ball in semi-transition, this time with Tobias coming out to guard him, with the same result as he pulls up for a bomb. Then when he got the Embiid matchup, the big fella's thinking 3, so he fakes it to create some space for a drive, where he's able to draw a shooting foul. As for Joel, he was making a living off of those signature isolations in the middle of the floor. Even with Wemby's 8-foot wingspan in his face, he has no problem at all getting to his pull-up jumper. This time he's going to start from the elbow, and for a little more separation, he steps back before rising up, completely unfazed. And here it is again, except instead of stepping back into a jumper, he throws an up fake, which gets Victor off his feet and sends him to the line for some free throws. To set up these isolations, you'll often see Philly start with a pick and roll that clears the nail, and as soon as a second defender even thinks about coming over to help, he's throwing a bullet to Batum in the corner for a quick release 3. Wemby ended up checking out about halfway through the first, leaving Zach Collins as the matchup, and from there Joel started to dominate the paint like prime Shaq. It started with him sealing off inside position, and when they get tangled up, he finishes through it for 2 plus a foul. So next time he touches the ball in the post, he's doubled, and he kicks it out to a wide open shooter. But the shot misses, so he gets after it on the glass for not 1, but 2 second chance opportunities. Here's another one that starts with the rebounding. Collins leaves him for a brief second to contest a drive, which leaves him unattended and forces another guy to come down and foul. He was completely owning the glass, 4 offensive rebounds in the first quarter, as the Spurs had no answer at all for his sheer physical prowess. And of course, as soon as he sets up to attack himself, he draws a quick double, with a third defender coming over to meet him at the rim. So what does he do? Turns his back and throws it over his head. That one right there gave him 24 points in the first quarter. To start the second, Wemby was on the floor without Joel, and immediately he's gonna post up. Things look a lot different when there isn't another center coming over to help. Then he's gonna showcase some more of that brilliant movement, starting in the corner and beating his man on a backdoor, only to slam the brakes and cut back towards the ball, which creates a ridiculous amount of separation. And next time down, he's going to go back to starting his attack from the perimeter. He fakes a 3 to draw a closeout before attacking, and once he's got that first step down, there's just nothing the defense can do about his length. He was cooking, but after only 3 minutes of play, he checked out, because unfortunately he's still on a restriction. A couple minutes later, Joel returned to the game, still without Victor, and he found himself cross-matched with Doug McDermott. Sochan comes over to double and eventually switches the matchup. Batum's gonna start to cut through, but the big man's already spinning into a drive and getting to the paint for some free throws. That right there was enough for Coach Pop. He got Wemby back in the game immediately, and you can just see the difference when he's out there. Joel isn't looking to put as much pressure on the rim, instead going back to the mid-range game, and it's tough to shoot over a mountain. Whenever he did try to take it all the way, the shot quality was just kinda putrid, because here comes that outstretched arm to erase any angle at the backboard. Wemby's a brilliant defender. On this one, it's a pick and roll that he plays in drop coverage, and help comes over from the weak side corner to slow Joel's momentum, leaving the baseline wide open. Now watch as Victor first steps in front of the roll to not give up any angle there, before swiveling to also alter a shot at the rim. That's high level stuff. It didn't stop Philly from going right back to the pick and roll on the very next play though, and this time Joel's just gonna shoot right over the top of his head. And that really speaks to the fact that no matter how good Wemby plays him defensively, he's getting his. Even with Sochan coming to double, that face-up jumper is automatic. On the other end, Wemby was right back to dealing with that annoying defensive strategy. Here they're running double bigs, so he's got Paul Reed on him, with Joel just creeping, again letting Sochan have whatever he wants from the perimeter. And when Sochan tries to use the space he's given to his advantage by attacking it on a drive, he works his way into a blocked shot by Embiid. Clearly, Victor had to find offense in different ways, such as pushing the ball himself in transition, where he isn't just a threat to score, but to hit a streaking teammate. Or he could fight for second chance opportunities like Joel was doing, avoiding the box out to establish inside position, but just missing on the tip-in. With under a minute left in the half, he finally got the Embiid matchup down low, and you could tell he was not prepared for that length, reaching right under his arm for a soft touch finger roll. Through 24 minutes of play, we were looking at a 4-point game. Joel had 34, a dominant showing, but Wemby had 18 of his own and was a +6 in the point differential column, so we were still looking at a duel of sorts. That was until the third quarter started, where Joel made it very clear that this was not a battle, but a showcase. Instead of the middle isolations though, he was playing more of a power game, here just discarding Victor to set up a dunk. It's clear that when Joel started to lean into his size, it really was a mismatch. He has no problem sealing off position deep in the lane, then goes into Wemby's body to create space for a finish. So next time down they run it right back, this time with Joel winning inside position, and when help comes over to him, he picks up a quick foul. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. How about a third time? He easily gets around Wemby, and when he goes to lay it up, notice how Victor starts running down the floor. That leaves two smaller guys on him down low, in other words, not so good for the Spurs. It's so crazy to me how he can go from that Shaq-esque style of play with deep seals and putbacks to isolating in the middle of the floor with a live dribble and getting to a hanging pull-up jumper. The level of skill is mesmerizing. Here's another one that starts with the pick and roll to clear the middle and set up the ISO game, jabbing for a little separation before shooting right over him once again. This next play starts in transition. Joel gets the cross match with Sochan on him, forcing the Spurs to try the Sixers strategy of using their 5 as a roamer. Embiid sets up as if looking to take Sochan one-on-one, only to throw a backwards dime directly into the hands of a cutter. I should also mention that during this time, Embiid spent quite a few possessions defending Wemby, and you can see that with so much size in front of him, he was a lot more prone to settle. When he does put the ball down and try to drive, Joel slides his feet to shut off the lane and forces him into another really tough look. Even when Joel wasn't on him, the Sixers threw everything at the guy. He catches and gets doubled, with a third defender coming over from the weak side to take away his cutter, forcing him to be a decision maker. With that said, he still found a way to get to the line 7 times, so he was getting some points on the board, but it certainly wasn't easy. And just like in quarter number 1, he checked out about halfway through, leaving Zach Collins for Embiid. I think we all know what that means. The Spurs actually tried mixing it up by throwing out a zone, and to counter that, all you have to do is get the ball to him in the middle of the floor. From there, he'll go to work and generate a quality shot. In other words, the zone didn't last very long. They went right back to man coverage, and for Joel, that means right back to the ISO game and back to the mid-range jumper. Or it could mean right back to battling for inside position, where he catches the ball and turns into an easy 2 points. After that one, they started throwing the kitchen sink at him. I'm talking 2 or 3 bodies the moment he touches the ball, regardless of where he's at on the floor. And it makes sense because that's what you gotta do when a guy has 56 points in the 3rd quarter. And as soon as he's left in single coverage again, he's sidestepping into a 3. A 25-point quarter gets him to 59 on the night. The Sixers ended the 3rd with a lead of 15, creating the most important stretch of the game. If they blew the Spurs out early in the 4th, Joel likely wouldn't return, so for me as a fan, all I wanted to see was the game kept within reach. Wemby was playing really well on both ends, controlling the paint, but Maxey was trying his hardest to extend the lead with bucket after bucket. Apparently so was Jeremy Sohan, who was making some questionable plays. But the Spurs kept scoring and were able to keep the deficit within 15. So with 6 minutes and 38 seconds left, guess who's back? San Antonio tried something different by putting Sohan on Joel, and immediately he attacked the mismatch off the catch and drew a foul. Next time down, it's going to be the ball screen to set up a middle isolation, and I was absolutely baffled when I saw that they were leaving Sohan in single coverage. What exactly is the plan here? Then I thought, maybe they messed up the coverage and someone was supposed to double. But a minute later, he isolates again, still left one-on-one, and goes right back to that jumper. The Sixers go back to it a 3rd time, and finally he draws a double from his left hip. He attacks right, drawing a 3rd defender there, and could you imagine if this shot went down? Even though he was on the verge of history, he still wasn't forcing it. If the defense started to hone in on his scoring and there was an easy pass to make, he was taking advantage. Eventually, the Spurs started throwing their entire team at him, not letting him get any clean shots, but they couldn't stop fouling, so he continued to get to the line, and slowly but surely chipped away at that 70-point mark. With just under 2 minutes to go, he found himself with another opportunity to attack in transition, and I'm sure every single person watching the game knew he was not giving up this ball, just waltzing his way into a layup for 70. And after that, his night is done. They sub him out, having secured the win behind the 14th 70-point game in NBA history. In addition to the scoring prowess, he grabbed 18 rebounds, 9 of which were offensive, and assisted on 5 more shots. Just an absurd performance. He rightfully stole the show, but I do want to mention that Wembanyama was no pushover. He had 33 points of his own on 68% true shooting, and on any other night he would have been a headline. But in this one, not quite. Embiid had the first 70-point performance in Sixers history, now averaging over 36 points per game in one of the most dominant seasons I've personally ever seen. He continues to showcase night in and night out that he's one of the best scorers of all time. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.